Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we've got another monster review. And today we're going to go back to the original monster manual once again and talk about the eel. Now, the eel, as I said, comes from the original monster manual for use with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and Basics Dungeons & Dragons, and Advanced, what typically is called 1E, the first 3 original books. And it's a interesting group of creatures. They cover 3 different eels in the book, and we're going to talk about each of them. First one we're going to talk about is the electric eel. Whoa. Yeah, they're actually pretty nasty the way they have them set up in the book. They can be up to 9 feet long. They have an armor class of 9, so they're very easy to hit. But they only have 2 hit dice. Now, you can hit them with standard weapons, you can hit them with magic, nothing special. And, of course, they're, slippery as an eel in water, so you got to watch out for that. But their one trick is very powerful, and that, of course, is delivering a jolt of electricity. If you're within, like, 5 to 10 feet of it, it's 3 to 24 points. Now, the damage goes down after that, depending on your distance from it, but up to 30 feet away, I believe, you can still take, 2 to 8 points, something like that. And that jolt can be very, very nasty. Beyond that, though, nothing much to deal with. They don't come in large groups. They typically come a few at a time. And, of course, they're animal intelligence. They're neutral. They don't have any skin in the game, so to speak. They'll leave you alone if you leave them alone. Don't get close to the electric eel. I think that's pretty wise words right there. So, time to move on to the next one. And this next one is the giant eel. The giant eel can be up to 20 feet long. It has 5 hit dice. A little bit more to deal with, and of course 20 feet long, well, that makes some sense. And their armor class, for whatever reason, is tougher than the electric eel. It is a armor class of 6. Once again, it's animal intelligence. It is neutral, and it's really only famed for being aggressively tempered. If you get near one of these things, they're more liable to attack than not. They do 3 to 18 points of damage with their bite, but that's it. So, yeah, they could be something nasty to run into, but once again, you run into these in very small numbers if you run into them on a wandering basis. So not something to really worry about too much, but if you do see one, swim away fast. Good idea. Once again, slippery as an eel, right? So let's talk about the next one. Now, this next one is one of my personal favorites because I've seen it used in a dungeon before, and I thought it was really cool how it was used. And that's the WEED EEL. And no, it doesn't mean an eel that sits around and smokes weed. A WEED EEL lives in colonies underneath water. They typically are in 25 to 45 feet deep, the depth of the water where their colony is located. And what they'll have is some kind of like a rocky structure where they have holes in it. They'll bore the holes, and underneath all the holes will be a larger chamber. A chamber can be up to like 20 feet long or something like that, and that's where they raise their young. And the floor of the chamber is carpeted with shiny things. They can be gemstones, they can be shiny rocks, they can be coins or shiny pieces of metal or jewelry. Doesn't really matter. But that's what they use as a bedding in that room. There are some opportunities there for a dungeon, I think. But the only way you can get to it is through these holes that are occupied by the WEED eels. Now, the WEED eels are aggressive, and if you get near them, they will attack you. And if they bite you, you have to make a save versus poison. If you don't make your save versus poison, you're dead. End of story. Now, a WEED eel enclosure, because of the shiny carpeting that they have for all their baby eels being raised, is a perfect spot to leave, key to a treasure chest, something that is then well protected. If the weed eels sense that anybody or anything is getting into their big berth chamber, they'll all come down the holes and attack whoever's in there. These are not in small colonies. They can be like up to 100 in a given colony. So it could be very challenging if you had to deal with a bunch of these all at once. So, very cool creature. And the circumstances where it has this underwater lair, if you can't find a cool use for that in a dungeon, then you're not thinking. So those are the three different types of eels. And of course, you know, in talking with the dwarves, well, eels live underwater. Dwarves do not live underwater. The number of times we run into eels is, I'm not aware of it ever happening. I guess it could happen in circumstances where a dwarf is participating in a adventure where they have the ability to both move and breathe underwater. I have seen that happen before, but I'm not aware of any of them having run into any eels. So, I don't have much to tell you on that side. Now, in the gaming world, what about eels? We went out to the greater Hornhelm community and asked the dungeon masters and players involved and said, hey, DMs, what do you think of eels? There was limited familiarity with using them, and the people I spoke to one who had used the weed eels before, but most of them had used the electric eels before, and they thought they were okay. They didn't think any of the eels on a singular basis were all that powerful, so they said, yeah, 1.5 to 2 at the most. And certainly in talking to the players who had had a few encounters with eels, both electric and giant eels, as it turned out, they came back and they said, no higher than a 2, and generally less. As long as you steered clear of eels, which is what I was told by several people, because they knew about electric eels. Just stay away from all of them, or try and get them at a distance. Okay. I can understand the desire to do so. The electric eel's attack is disproportionately strong for the size of the creature. So, really, overall, yeah, you can have some fun with this. I think the most fun you can have with this is with the weed eels. But overall, not a very compelling creature, very low rated. So, that, unfortunately, is the story of the eels. We hope you found today's presentation to be interesting, informative, amusing, all that kind of good stuff. If you did, please be so kind as to leave us a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't. Definitely drop us a comment or share with your friends, and come back and see us again real soon. We thank you so much for your kind support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!